Welcome to this new Consepsys document control tip of the month. Projects involving a client organization and a contractor usually require a large amount of resources, including large sums of money. They also involve the production, the review, and the use of a large amount of documentation. Document control is therefore a key support function on projects. Let's discuss 5 common document control mistakes that projects make. At number 5, underutilization of data collected by document control. As part of their day-to-day activity, document controllers collect, compile, process, and record a lot of data and information about the activity and the performance of the project. Typically, this information is captured in registers such as document registers, master deliverable registers, transmittal registers, just to list a few. These registers, when they are properly exploited, can give very important information to the project team, even in real time. Many project teams fail to fully exploit this readily available information. At number 4, lack of support to document control. One of the core missions of document control is to protect the interests of their employer by acting as gatekeepers of processes involving documentation. It is very frequent for document controllers to face resistance from their users, who often question the very need for document control. Often, document control needs to stop documents or activities which can cause damage to the organization. People at the top of project organizations must support document control in those instances, otherwise they expose the organization to potentially damaging consequences. At number 3, lack of planning of final documentation. Anyone who has ever been involved in the compilation of final documentation at the end of a project knows how challenging and how difficult it is. It takes careful, meticulous, and advanced planning to deliver final documentation with accuracy and within the agreed time frame. The problem is that many projects wait until the very last moments to start thinking about final documentation. More often than not, they underestimate the amount of work involved, and the result is that the delivery of final documentation is often done very poorly, if it is even done at all. At number 2, under-resourcing of document control. Many projects fail to involve document control in the preparation and planning phase when the number of resources is estimated based on the workload. The result is that a large proportion of projects is under-resourced in terms of document control, or in other words, there are not enough document controllers. This is often due to a gross underestimation of the workload of document control, partly or wholly because of lack of understanding of what document control does. As a consequence, document controllers on projects have too much to do, they struggle throughout the duration of the project, and the quality of the output of document control is compromised. The organization is therefore at risk of disputes, lawsuits, incidents, and accidents. At number 1, lack of agreement on document control before the start of the project. Document control practices are complex and specific to each organization. Often already, many people do not even know the document control practices and rules in their own organization. So, why is it that often, when 2 organizations decide to collaborate on a project, they simply do not discuss in advance how they are going to collaborate in terms of document control? The consequence of the absence of prior agreement on how document control is going to be done on a project is that each organization has its own idea of how things should be done, and it is often impossible to reconcile their different document control cultures. This frequently results in frustration, delays, disagreements, tensions, disputes, and lawsuits between organizations during a project. This is why it is essential to discuss and to agree on how organizations are going to collaborate in terms of document control before the project starts. If you want to find out more about document control practices on projects, browse through the Consepsys YouTube channel, visit our blog articles, and consider attending the course Certified Document Controller. Have you experienced the negative consequences of these mistakes? What other recurrent mistakes have you seen on projects? Tell us about it in the comments.
If you wish to know more about document control and improve your skills in and around document control, join us in one of our courses, which allow to develop your skills and get your career on the right track. We have different courses, each one designed to accompany you throughout your career in document control. Find the link in the description below. We regularly release new content on document control, so don't forget to subscribe to this channel, to like this video, and to hit the notification bell to be notified of any useful new content.